Welcome to Build the Weight Loss Practice of Your Dreams. I'm your host, Carol Clark, and we are talking this month about how to make the most of December and plan for a great 2022. We started out with how to get rid of those excuses that we sometimes have in December as to why perhaps it's not going to be that great of a month business-wise. We also talked about how to optimize your personal productivity and that of your teams. And then last week, we talked a bit about your joys and frustrations in your practice. And all of those weeks really kind of play into and lay the foundation for your plan. And even though I say planning for a great 2022 anymore because change is constant, we are going through a planning process a lot. And I almost recommend, I do recommend kind of doing it on a quarterly basis. That's why a lot of times when I work with practices, we'll do blueprints and we'll do a different blueprint each quarter of the year. And it ends up letting us deep dive into the top frustration, working on that, and then moving on to the next thing. So you're always seeing progress and you're always addressing what your top frustrations are. So this does work. Like I say, I see it happen every day. It's all about not only having the excitement of a new year or a new quarter or a new month or a new week, a new day, but it's also having a strategic plan in place and the action steps and accountability to really make it happen. That follow through is what is so important. So when we're doing any sort of planning process, we'd like to focus on, for me, I'll usually run through the 7 main systems of any practice, really. It's really your team, and it's also your marketing efforts, what's working organically, and also any paid advertising that you're doing. Your finances, is there something where you're increasing your revenue, it's looking great, but yet you still don't have a lot of profit at the end of the day? Or is your revenue down and your profits down? What is your goal for next year? Maybe you want to keep your revenue the same, but you want to increase the profit side of it. There's so many different ways to look at your finances. And we always look at what your expenses are, all of that. So your finances is the third system or area that you want to look at. Your revenue streams, what revenue do you have coming in? Do you look at those as a separate cost center? What are they looking like? Your retail sales, your referral program, and also your patient education. Even though a lot of times people don't think they need that, it plays into every aspect of your practice and helping to improve your patient outcomes. So typically we will go through those 7 systems and identify really where are your frustrations there? What's your current effectiveness in each one of those different areas? Some might be just so great. Your team is awesome. You've got all the right players in place. You've got a great onboarding process. You have a great evaluation process. Maybe that's not your area, but maybe really it's the financial side, or maybe it's adding revenue streams, or maybe it's retail is non-existent, or you're only making, a little bit each month and you know that you should be bringing in more. So, and all of it has to relate back to what's best for the patient and their outcomes. But looking at what is your current effectiveness in those different systems, and then what's your biggest frustration, and starting there. If you're ever overwhelmed, we talked about this in productivity, it's really about prioritizing getting that one thing straight that you want to make sure gets, if that gets handled, it would really make a big difference for your practice and for your team and for your life probably. So we hone in on those 7 systems, what's working really effectively, what is not working effectively, and then prioritizing which one to tackle first. Because once you see progress, it really adds momentum, just like for your patients. Once they start to see that number on the scale go down, their clothes are fitting better, they really get added momentum, motivation to keep going. So we start with the steps that we've done already this month. And like I say, you can make that last over a period of time, or you could just take some time to yourself to kind of evaluate it, you and your team. So once you have all of that identified and we've decided what area you're going to focus on, then we really follow a step-by-step process. The first one is really to look at what are your goals. A lot of times I'll talk with practices and they really aren't measuring anything. They're not really sure. They just want more of something, or they want more of this, but they want less of that. But it's really a matter of determining what is your goals. And of course, as we always do, writing them as if they've already accomplished, because that also increases our momentum to get there. We can visualize what it's going to feel like. Almost every sense gets stimulated about what that's going to be like. So identifying your goals and writing them as if they are already accomplished. So we do this, and there may be more than one goal depending on the area that you have, and we'll go ahead and identify that. The next step is to sort of reverse engineer that goal. So if it was it's usually the easiest from a financial perspective. So if it's either a certain amount of revenue or a certain amount of profit, we kind of then reverse engineer and we look at, like, How we look at all the basic, how many surgeries do you need to be doing? How many medical programs do you need to be selling? What's your retail sales need to look like? What other avenues are bringing in revenue? How can you reverse engineer so that you have a goal in mind? So if you wanted to have a certain number of your programs sold, then we need to know how many will meet that revenue goal. We work it all backwards. This is something that also needs to be shared with your team, which we get to here in a minute. But you want to, once you know what your goal is and you've written it out and you kind of reverse engineer that, you want to identify what are the top 3 actions for each different goal that relates to that overall accomplishment that you want to have. What are the top actions that are going to make that dial move, that's going to get you those results? We try to keep it to 3 because that's a little bit more reasonable. So we have one, identify those, what will make that goal a reality. The 4th step is to identify your team members or members on your staff who are going to be responsible for each aspect of your plan. You cannot do it all. You can't be the one who's coming up with all the ideas and doing all the implementation. And besides that, your team is well equipped to help you with this, and it helps them become a part of the whole solution, which increases their job satisfaction. It's really just a very exciting thing. So you want to identify who's primarily responsible, who's going to have a role in that, and make sure that you identify that and make sure they see the vision that you have for that particular area, whichever one it is that we're working on. The next thing is determine outcome metrics. Like I say, we've got to have something to measure. What you measure is what happens. So if you focus on it, you focus on it by having a measurement that also shows us, is what we're doing working or is it not working at all? So you want to make sure that you're looking at those metrics. And all too often, that is the one thing that gets put aside. I don't know how many people spend a lot of money on advertising, but they have no return on investment. They aren't even sure are they having a return on investment, or they have retail sales. They've got all this product, but it's not really moving, or they don't have a goal in mind in terms of how much to be promoting and selling, or you have a quick start program and you don't have a certain number that you'd like to promote, and or you have a goal in terms of your patient outcomes and what that average weight is going to be. There's so many different aspects, but you've got to have outcome metrics in order to be able to show that what you're doing is effective, because we don't want to be on a hamster wheel and doing things just for the sake of being busy. We want to be productive. We want to make sure that the goals are getting accomplished, just like we're helping our patients accomplish their weight loss goals. And then the 6th step is to agree on a communication method, particularly in larger organizations and even in very small organizations. There has to be a way to follow up and see that progress is being made. I know we do weekly reports for practices I'm working with on bigger projects, and it's a way to help touch base and see what got accomplished this week, what is missing, what are the assignments, where are we going next week. And it all relates back to each one of these steps. And it plays together beautifully. And before you know it, you see progress. I mean, we had some practices last year who really more than 400% increased their retail sales, some that more than almost doubled their number of weight loss surgeries, some that started from the ground up and actually got everything up and running, some that were, moved to a whole new location. There's just lots of things that can get accomplished, but it's all a matter of all these 6 steps working together in concert. And then celebrating your wins, making sure that you take the time to celebrate that yourself and with your team. But really, what I encourage, I'm just going to summarize really quick, is you can create this any day, anytime. So if you haven't started any planning yet and it's the end of December, don't fret about it. Just start it, as soon as you're able to. Start it right away as soon as the holidays are over. You can plan at any point to make a difference in your practice and in your life. So we really want to look at the 7 systems. We talked about your team, your marketing, your finances, your revenue streams, your retail sales, your referral program or your referrals that are coming in, as well as your patient education, or how you're educating your patients and prospective patients and attracting them into your practice. You identify what's working really well, what's not, what's your top frustration, and then we develop a plan to go from there. So create your goals as if they're already accomplished over like a 3-month period. I recommend just taking it 1 quarter at a time, even though you have a longer goal in mind. Reverse engineer that. So you may have one annual goal, but we reverse engineer that into each quarter. Identify the top 3 actions for that need to be done in order to accomplish those goals. Identify individuals and teams who have responsibility for that, and then also determine your outcome metrics. Don't don't forget that. And then a communication method for them to report back to you in terms of the progress, and also for any top-down communication for that. And then celebrating your wins along the way. Yeah, I know this is a lot sort of at once, and maybe you kind of fly by the seat of your pants and it's worked out all the time. That's great. But for most people, we all have some frustrations. And so we gain control, and we gain some peace, and we gain just a little bit of sanity by making sure that we have a plan in place that's moving forward. I like to call them blueprints. I like to just call them, this whole plan. You can do it right in your practice. If I can help in any way, please reach out to me, Carol, Karol, at weightlosspracticebuilder.com. You can also get a free resource with all of this laid out for you, everything that we've covered this whole month, as well as specific examples of how to put this into play in your practice. Just go to weightlosspracticebuilder.com/free, and it will be there for you, waiting for you. And I hope this is helpful. If I can help, like I say, reach out. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day and a great holiday with family and friends. Take care.